Nuragic civilization. The Nuragic civilization, also known as the Nuragic culture, developed on the Mediterranean island of Sardinia, what is today Italy, during the Bronze Age. According to the traditional theory proposed by Giovanni Liliu in 1966, it emerged after migrations from the west by peoples related to the Beaker culture, who disrupted the local Copper Age societies. Other scholars instead propose an indigenous origin. The civilization lasted from roughly the 18th century BC through the Iron Age or until the Roman conquest in 238 BC. Some scholars extend its survival to the 2nd century AD and in isolated regions such as in Barbagia, possibly even later. However, the construction of new nuraghi had already ceased by the 12th to 11th century BC. It was contemporary with the Mycenaean civilization in Greece, the Apennine and Taramea cultures of mainland Italy, the Thapsos culture of Sicily, and the final phase of the El Argar culture in Iberia. The term Nuragic is not a native name. It derives from the Nuraghe, the civilization's most distinctive monument, a type of stone tower fortress built in great numbers from around 1800 BC. Today, more than 7,000 nuraghis remain across Sardinia. No written records from this civilization have ever been found, aside from a few possible late inscriptions. Most information comes from archaeology and later Greek and Roman writers, whose account may be partially mythical. Pre-Nuragic Sardinia. Human presence on Sardinia dates back to the Paleolithic and Neolithic periods, with settlers arriving from Europe and the wider Mediterranean. Early cultures such as the Ozieri culture developed an economy based on agriculture, herding, fishing and trade. With the spread of metallurgy, copper and silver object appeared. By the 4th millennium BC, Sardinia was amongst the earliest centers of silver extraction in the world. Remains from this period include menhirs, dolmens, and over 2,400 hypogeum tombs, known as Domus de Janus. Monumental structures like Monte d'Accordi, a stepped pyramid near Sassari, show similarities to sites in Iberia and even Mesopotamia, suggesting cultural connections across the Mediterranean. Around 2000 BC, the Beaker culture spread to the island, arriving from both Western Europe and Central Europe via the Italian peninsula. Early Bronze Age. the Bonanara culture evolved from the beaker culture and shows similarities with the Polada culture of northern Italy. These influences likely spread through Corsica and introduced new architectural techniques, including Cyclopean masonry. New populations arriving from the mainland brought different technologies, beliefs, and social practices, as Liliu described. From the general, severe, practical characters and essentiality of the material equipment, we understand the nature and the warlike habit of the newcomers. It seems to feel a fall of ideologies of the old pre-Nuragic world corresponding to a new historical turning point. The widespread use of bronze, a stronger alloy of copper and tin, transformed agriculture, warfare, and craftsmanship. During this period, Proto-Nuragi appeared. Early, platform-like structures that marked the beginning of Nuragic architecture. Middle and Late Bronze Age. By the mid-2nd millennium BC, the classic Nuragi had developed. A massive stone tower with a truncated conical shape and an internal tholos chamber. Larger examples could contain multiple stacked chambers. These structures became ubiquitous, with roughly 1 every 3 square kilometers. Their exact function has been debated, but current consensus suggests they served as fortified residences, often including storage areas. Over time, settlement expanded around these towers, especially on hilltops. Additional towers and defensive walls were added, forming complex strongholds. Famous examples include Zu Nuraxi at Barumini, Santo Antine, Nuragi Losa, Palmavera, Genemaria, Cerucci, and Arubiu. The latter reaching heights of 25 to 30 meters with multiple towers and walls. Sardinia's rich mineral resources, particularly copper and lead, supported a thriving metallurgical industry. Nuragic craftsmen produced weapons, tools, jewelry, and bronze figurines. Trade networks extended across the Mediterranean, linking Sardinia with Mycenaean Greece, Cyprus, Crete, and Iberia. Archaeological finds include Mycenaean and Cypriot ceramics, suggests the existence of key gateway communities, facilitating this exchange. The Sea Peoples and Mediterranean connection. During the Late Bronze Age, the Mediterranean experienced widespread upheaval linked to the so-called Sea Peoples. Some scholars, including Giovanni Ugas, identify the Sherden, one of these groups, with the Nuragic Sardinians, though this remains debated. Ancient sources describe Sardinian raids in the eastern Mediterranean, and Nuragic artifacts have been found in Greece, Cyprus, and Egypt. These discoveries indicate that the Nuragic people were active participants in long-distance maritime networks. Iron Age. From around 900 to 500 BC, Nuragic society entered a new phase, often described as the Age of Aristocracies. Craftsmanship improved, especially in ceramics and metalwork, and trade expanded further. At the same time, the construction of new nuragi ceased, and many existing ones were abandoned or repurposed. Burial practices shifted from collective tombs to individual graves. According to Liliu, this period saw the emergence of organized political structures, including assemblies of local leaders who met to discuss communal matters. Carthaginian and Roman conquest. From the 9th century BC, Phoenician traders began visiting Sardinia, establishing coastal settlements such as Carilis, Nora, Sulci, and Taros. In the 6th century BC, Carthage attempted to conquer the island, and after several campaigns, it gained control of coastal regions, while Nuragic culture persisted inland. In 238 BC, following the First Punic War, Carthage ceded Sardinia to Rome. Although the island became a Roman province, ancient sources suggest that Nuragic traditions survived in the interior for centuries. Society and daily life. Religion played a central role in the Nuragic society, leading some scholars to suggest a theocratic structure. Bronze figurines depict leaders, warriors, artisans, musicians, and wrestlers, indicating a complex and stratified society. Villages consisted of circular stone houses with thatched roofs, often clustered around a central nuragi. In later periods, homes became more complex, with multiple rooms arranged around courtyards. Some settlements, such as Sant Imbenia, included specialized buildings for storage and trade, suggesting early forms of urban organization. Infrastructure such as wells, drainage systems, and even aqueducts demonstrates advanced engineering. Tribes and identity. Although culturally unified, Sardinia was later described by Roman sources as divided into tribes, including the Ilienses, Baleares, and the Corsi. These groups maintained distinct identities and often competed for resources. Some, like the Ilenses, resisted Roman influence and preserved older traditions in the island's interior. Religion and sacred architecture. Nuragic religion centered on fertility, nature, and possible celestial cycles. The bull symbolized male power and the sun, while water and the moon represented female forces. Sacred sites included temples, sanctuaries, and caves. Large complexes, like the sanctuary of Santa Vittoria, likely served both religious and political functions, hosting gatherings of different clans. Holy wells. One of the most distinctive features of Nuragic religion is the sacred well. These structures, dedicated to water deities, feature underground chambers accessed by stairways and covered by Tolo's vaults. Some wells, such as Santa Cristina, show precise astronomical alignments. Every 18.5 years, the moon's light reflects into the chamber, possibly symbolizing renewal or generational. Other sacred structures. Ritual buildings with central basins, megaron-style temples, and cave sanctuaries further illustrate the diversity of religious practices. The so-called Giants' Caves, large communal tombs shaped like a bull's head, were used throughout the Nuragic period before being replaced by individual burials. Art and material culture. Bronze statuettes. Nuragic bronzetti are small bronze figures created using the lost wax technique. They depict warriors, animals, ships, and scenes of daily life, offering insight into Nuragic society. Giants of Monte Prama. Discovered in 1974, these monumental stone statues, up to 2.5 meters tall, represent warriors, archers, and wrestlers. Dating between the 11th and the 8th centuries BC, they may be among the earliest large anthropomorphic sculptures in the Mediterranean. Their purpose remains debated, but may represent heroes, guardians, or a pantheon of deities. Ceramics. Nuragic ceramics are notable for their geometric decoration and refined craftsmanship. Both local and imported styles have been found, reflecting Sardinia's integration into the Mediterranean trade networks. Language. The language of the Nuragic people remains unknown due to the absence of written records. Some evidence suggests that by the Iron Age, they may have adopted an alphabet similar to that of Euboea. Scholars have proposed various linguistic connections, including links to Paleo-Sardinian, Basque, Iberian, or even Etruscan, but no consensus exists. Economy and trade. The Nuragic economy was based on agriculture, herding and fishing, supplemented by metallurgy and trade. Evidence suggests early viticulture and horticulture, including the cultivation of melons. Trade networks extended across the Mediterranean, exchanging metals and goods with regions lacking resources. Sardinia's copper was particularly valuable. Studies have shown that some Nordic Bronze Age artifacts used Sardinian metal. Navigation played a crucial role. Large ships allowed the Nuragic people to travel widely, establishing connections with Greece, Cyprus, Iberia, and beyond. Genetics and origins. Recent genetic studies indicate strong continuity between the Nuragic population and earlier Neolithic inhabitants of Sardinia. Their ancestry was primarily derived from early European farmers, with smaller contribution from hunter-gatherers. Unlike many other Bronze Age European populations, they show little evidence of steppe ancestry, suggesting relative isolation. Physical appearance. Genetic analysis suggests that most Nuragic individuals had dark hair and dark eyes, with a minority showing lighter features. Skin tones ranged from intermediate to dark. In conclusion, the Nuragic civilization stands as one of the most distinctive cultures of the ancient Mediterranean. Without written records, its story is told through stone towers, sacred wells, intricate artifacts, and far-reaching trade networks. Though eventually absorbed into larger empires, its legacy remains deeply embedded in the landscape and identity of Sardinia.